the third offensive film breakdown that we've had. The third one. And the offensive line has been good in all three. And by every statistical, you know what? Wait, let's just talk about it now. Since we're on the conversation, let's talk about the offensive line, okay? Let's talk about the pressures, okay? And we're going to go from multiple different data points. So again, those of you that are triggered, you might want to tune out on this part because we're about to talk about it. Offensive line. PFF right now has Brock Purdy ranked dead last amongst starters in the NFL at a 25% allowed pressure rate and 15 total allowed pressures. Now, what does that mean, Jesse? You just said a lot there. What that means is 25% of the time he's pressured, he's the reason he's pressured. He's holding on to the ball too long. He's running around like a chicken with his head cut off. He's dead last in the NFL at this. He's the worst in the NFL when it comes to this statistics, not only from a percentage number, but from a hard number. Percentage and hard number, dead last out of all starting quarterbacks in the NFL, which means he's walking himself into pressures and sacks. All right. On the flip side of that, the offensive line ranks 5th in pressure rate. It's 71.7%, meaning 71.7% of the time that there's pressure on Brock Purdy, it falls on the offensive line. That is the 5th best in the NFL. Oh, we don't like PFF? Okay, that's fine. We don't have to like PFF. What about NFL.com? Do we like NFL.com? Let's talk about NFL.com. According to NFL.com, the 49ers have the 5th highest pressure rate in the NFL, which is not good. The 5th highest pressure rate, which means Brock Purdy is under duress. But that's despite them having the league's highest time to pressure at 3.02 seconds, which means the offensive line on average is giving Brock 3.02 seconds before they're giving up pressures, which means what? If they're the 5th highest in pressure rate, but they're giving more time to their quarterback than anybody else in the league before being pressured, that means Brock is holding on to the ball too long and taking unnecessary sacks and unnecessary pressures. NFL.com and PFF, in two different numbers that measure the same thing, are telling you so. Oh, but you listen, we don't like PFF or we don't like NFL.com. All right, we don't have to like them. We don't have to like them. What about ESPN? Do we like their stats? All right, let's talk about ESPN. What does ESPN have to say? ESPN has the 49ers ranked 6th in the NFL in pass block win rate as an offensive line. So in the passing game, the offensive line right now is ranked 6th best at pass protection in the whole NFL. So when we say the offensive line is terrible, and the reason Brock isn't doing what Brock is doing is because the offensive line isn't holding up, and oh my gosh, look at how much he's pressured. We're watching on film. That is not the case. And we have 3 different statistics that say that is not the case from 3 different sources. So at what point do we just say that's not true right now? It is not true. It's not. And I'm sure that we've got people out here with platforms that are saying it is true. And you know why they're saying it's true? For the same reason that you're saying it's true. Because in the past, it was true. But that doesn't mean it's true now. But when you say it's true, nobody's going to question you. Nobody's going to say, oh, gee, are you sure the offensive line's bad? Like, what are your stats? You know why they're not going to question you? Because they're used to the offensive line being bad. So that everybody just falls in line with the offensive line being bad as if that's a foregone conclusion. That's what's happening. And it's not true. It's not true by any statistical measure, and it's not true on film. Now, that doesn't mean that they're going to hold up the rest of the year. Maybe they're buns next week going forward. That is possible. But through 5 weeks in the NFL season, the offensive line has not only been better than expected, But by every statistical measure, when it comes to pass blocking, they are a top 10 and closer, probably to a top 5 offensive line in the NFL. That's just the reality of the situation. PFF says it. NFL.com says it. ESPN says it. And film says it. They're good. They're doing a very good job of protecting Brock Purdy. So the take is old. It's an old take, and it doesn't hold water anymore.